Yo, welcome to the Cosmic Paradox channel. Like, subscribe, and share. Peace, peace, peace. What's up, everybody? What's going on? It's your girl, Cosmic Paradox. Some of you know me as Queen Ra. Some of you know me as Rakia. But today we're going to talk about the fall equinox. There's a lot of things I want to share with y'all today that can kind of help us to understand why some of the things that is symbolically represented in the fall equinox and some things that we can do to use that energy for ourselves and our own personal development and growth. So let's get into that. Now, the fall equinox, or also known as the autumnal equinox, right? This is a specific moment where the sun is crossing the celestial equator from north to south. And this typically happens around September the 21st to September the 23rd in the northern hemisphere. This is specifically the northern hemisphere, the beginning of autumn for the northern hemisphere and the spring in the southern hemisphere. Now, as we approach, or when we come into the fall equinox, it's a good moment to explore connections between things, especially when it's present, so you can understand the energy going on around you. So when you're looking into the occult, right, it's just diving into hidden knowledge or ancient wisdom or also unseen forces that can shape our lives. So, and from those occult studies, you've heard me speak quite a bit about alchemy. Now, alchemy is pretty much this pursuit of spiritual enlightenment and transformation. So it's seeking to transmute the base into the divine, or from man to God, or woman to goddess, right? So this is important that we understand this energy so we can uncover the mystical significance behind rituals and the symbolism that we practice, so we can know what we practice and understand what we practice. And not only that, but begin to utilize that energy for ourselves. Because if we continue to look at these things as they do this or they utilize it for that, then you're constantly placing yourself at the level of a pawn on a checkerboard. So there's quite a few occult and esoteric symbolisms or teachings that's connected to the fall equinox that we're going to get into in this video. And we're going to start off talking about balance and harmony. Now, the fall equinox represents a moment of balance, a perfect moment in balance between light and darkness. With the equal hours of day and night, there is balance between light and day, literally. So, in looking at it in that way, occult teachings that this balance is a symbolic representation of the harmonious interplay of opposing forces in the universe. There is a means for light and dark. There's a need for the yin and the yang. And balance is, the ultimate form of oneself, if one can bring oneself into balance of harmony between those opposing forces. Now, if you notice, September the 23rd is the start of Libra season, right? So it's the start of Libra season. So you're looking at the scales, you're looking at balance. So yeah, it is strong symbolic representation of dealing with harmony or dealing with balance. Balance is always the key, especially when you're dealing with descent into the underworld, when you're dealing with going into the darkness and going upon darker times. You better have means for balance, because you will be tested. So when you hear people say during this time of the year, be watchful for this time of year, it's because they're referring to the fall equinox energy. And this is a means of how people can be knocked off balance. So in being knocked off balance, it makes one more susceptible. It makes you more susceptible to have your energy preyed upon. That's why people You got Thanksgiving, then you got Black Friday, then you got Christmas time. It's a lot of things weighing on your energy come this particular time of year or going into this next season. It's only gonna go down from here. So in terms of going down, it's only gonna get more physical from here. So in terms of it getting more physical, you're gonna get more involved in more physical mundane things. You start to get stressed out. The holidays get closer. You start to think about what you need to get, what you don't have, what you can't get, what you want to get, things of that nature. It starts to weigh on you. So if you ain't got balance, if you can't have harmony between that physical and that spiritual world, then you're gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer and you're gonna deal with the repercussions of that. So a lot of things that happen this particular time of year is to knock you off balance. So when they say that, you heard Bobby Hemming, they love to pull something on the fall equinox, or to have something happen to draw the attention of the people so much that you don't think about nothing really major within yourself. You're so caught up in what's going on outside on the distraction. So being caught up in the distraction can pull you away from utilizing that energy for what it's there for, personal growth. Because that's really what that energy is for you to utilize it for, because that's what it means when you're going into the darkness. But if you blindly just going, it's a lot of things are going to hit you all at once. And that's what happens with a lot of people. This time of the year is typically heavier on people for various reasons. So you got to be mindful of that. Balance and harmony is pivotal, especially this time of the year. That's why I do share a lot of things about things of the occult and related to the so-called quote-unquote dark arts, because you have to understand the way things work. It's just nature. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like understanding the summertime. You get some nice warm hot weather, but if you in a certain place in the United States, on the East Coast over there, it's also hurricane season. You in the southeast corner, you over there in them Caribbeans, it's hurricane season. You don't look at the hurricane as being something evil. It's just a natural part of nature, natural part of things. So the dark times are a natural part of things, so you gotta be prepared for that. You gotta know how to deal with the predators that's out there, because there are those who will prey on you. And that's reiterating harvest and gratitude. Now the fall equinox is a time that you gotta think about, focus on, have a moment of recognition for harvest and gratitude. That's the purpose of the fall harvest. That's the purpose of Thanksgiving. It's all a means of reiterating that harvest and gratitude particular type of energy. We don't really look at the harvest part no more. The fall harvest, that's kind of taken out of things a little bit. And it's more so a focus on Thanksgiving. And maybe it's because of the change of times and people don't really acknowledge harvest times or have that natural connection to nature. It could be part of what's keeping us off balance. But harvest and gratitude, that's, many esoteric and occult traditions emphasize the importance of giving thanks, practicing gratitude. This is the perfect time of year to do that. This is the time to do it. And it was during the bountiful harvest. This was what sustained life. So it's a time to express gratitude for the abundance of the earth. So everything that you planted, you've now reaped that in terms of your harvest. This is what is sustaining your life, whether you're selling these things, whether it's going to your table. But this is what is sustaining your life, is whatever the seeds you have planted. Now, when you talk about the seeds that you have planted, you want to be grateful for the things that you have planted that has come back to you. Also, in terms of so more can come back to you the next time. And that's due to you practicing the proper self-reflection during this particular period in time, so you can know what you need to let go of and what you need to start practicing more of in the coming seasons and in further and future harvest seasons, so you can have even better harvest, right? So this also makes me think about, if you think about in I don't know about y'all, I'm old, I'm a little older now. I ain't really old, but I'm 36. But I remember in elementary school, especially your earliest of years, that the classroom and the environment would always change with the seasons, with what was going on in nature. Even if it was, season change, holiday change, whatever the case may be. And we know there's a capitalistic means for that, but it's only because they can only reverse engineer what is already genuinely authentically planted. And what I mean by that is, there may be means of capitalism behind these holidays, behind, decorating, acknowledging the change of the season, but understand that there's also a spiritual one also. There's a spiritual meaning to it too, because in your elementary and fundamental years, you're learning the elements, you're learning the basic elements of nature, cycles of nature, life, death, and rebirth. That's what you are being shown and taught throughout the seasons, throughout different cycles and things like that. So in elementary school, in those formative years, you learn the basic knowledge about cycles and about how these things typically work and how to embed yourself with the energy of this time and of these holidays. But what you have to do at this particular stage, now that you are aware that you in this matrix and what's going on around you, now you just have to take the power back. And you take the power back in understanding where these things originated, so that you can go back to the source of your ancestors and what they originally acknowledged and understood about these celestial events and moments in time, and what these things meant in reference to you. That's esoteric practice. That's how you deal with things on an esoteric level versus on an exo or a mundane, more physical one. You go back and basically, take that reverse engineered or perverse form of what that's been given to you, and you unlearn and you get back to the root, go back to source, and get it from, how it was originally established. Because that's where your power comes from. That's how you empower yourself. That's your personal growth is empowerment. It's empowerment. So all these things go hand in hand. The more you learn about yourself and what you are capable of, it empowers you to bring these things into fruition, to manifest these things in your life, to plant these seeds, to harvest, to bring forth this particular type of harvest. So you want to reflect during this period in time so you can know what you need to let go of and what you need to start doing to reap the harvest that you're looking for. So that's why some people, I've never been one to say I celebrate Thanksgiving, but I do acknowledge the fall harvest. I do have a meal with my family that's focused on gratitude. That's all about acknowledging what we have and what we have been blessed to receive and what we hope to continue to bring to the table. So it's all in understanding the energy. It's all in understanding the energy, because we understand and we know, we learn, we realize these Europeanized holidays and calendar events and things like that are just to leech off of our energy. But hey, once you take the power back, right? Once you take the power back, you can get back to your original ancestral practices. And you talking about a different ball game. You talking about a different ball game. The wheel of year also is a key point. The fall equinox is a key point in the wheel of year. Now, I don't really go by the wheel of year, but that is something that I have come across in reference to studying the fall equinox. So there are some people who acknowledge the wheel of the year, and it's basically just it's like a calendar kind of that tracks changing seasons and their spiritual significance. It's like an annual cycle of seasonal festivities and festivals and things like that from different cultures, a different range of so-called modern pagans and, more spiritual traditional practitioners and things like that. So it focuses a lot on solar events and midpoints and things like that between them. So, that is acknowledged there as well. Certain rituals and ceremonies, a lot of rituals and ceremonies are performed at this particular time of the year. And a lot of practitioners perform rituals to honor the equinox or to hone in on the energy of the equinox. So these rituals can include or range from offerings to deities, certain meditations or activities that connect them to the earth cycles. It could be something as simple as gardening, that is a ritualistic activity that is connecting them to the earth cycles. So when you're talking about deities and offerings and things of that nature, you don't have to do that. That's just an aspect of some forms of spiritual practices or spiritual communities that do. You don't have to do that. Some people view deities as aspects of themselves that they are trying to connect with, parts of the psyche that they want to connect with and get more aligned with and utilize the power or the energy from those particular deities. So depending on how you look at it, because I'm such a universal person, depending on how you look at it, it's all in how you can go about those particular things. Now, some of the deities, they range. It's just depending. All you have to do is look across these pantheons as far as who represents harvest, who represents, death, birth, and death, life, death, and rebirth. So it could be, you look at the goddess Maban or Mabon, which is what a lot of modern pagans even call the fall equinox, and that's going back to Welsh traditions, and it's a goddess that represents bountiful fruits of the season. And you have Vishnu. Vishnu in Hindu could be seen as being connected to the fall equinox, because Vishnu is the preserver of the universe, and is seen as being, or is honored for maintaining cosmic order. So you're talking about balance, you're talking about harmony, you want to work with Vishnu at this particular time. You got Osiris or Osar, or even to some traditions, the green man, right? And that's the symbol of rebirth, growth, and or the cycle of life and death. So if you're going through changing, you have to change something. You have to go through a transformation. Something has to be let go of. You're dealing with processing a change in phase or change in season of your life. A sorrow might be the energy, that you might find alignment with, in Native American and indigenous spiritual practices. Many a different there's been many a different traditions associated with harvest, and it's varied by names depending on the different tribes. So these are just references of what this time represents and how you can hone in and acknowledge, that particular phase, how to embrace the energy. So when you embrace, it's like a stepping into. So it's more of a positive use of the energy or the environment or the setting, right? Now there's offerings, right? We said offerings. So there's offerings that you can do. If you take notice, the pumpkins are out. So pumpkins are already out. Pumpkins strongly can be connected to a lot of spiritual practice during this period of time, not just Halloween, but that's why they're out now, because they make for good offerings when it comes to looking at the spring equinox, because of what pumpkins represent. So when you're looking at pumpkins, some things about pumpkins, excuse me, it has many different symbolic meanings in different spiritual and cultural contexts. And, I can elaborate on some of those things. Like the fall equinox, harvest and abundance. In many cultures, pumpkins are associated with harvest season and abundance. That's why the pumpkins are out now, because it's not just about using them for what's popular in Western culture, like Halloween, but you have other cultures, you have other people, other means, and other use. So that's why they are out now, because they are a good representation for abundance. So if you want to bring abundance, you can have pumpkins around, set a environment related to pumpkins in terms of doing a fall um, equinox ritual. It can be an earth element that you utilize. They also can symbolize the fruition of hard work and the rewards of a bountiful harvest. So it can be seen as a spiritual metaphor for reaping the benefits of one's efforts. So you think about the trying, what you are bringing into fruition, and the possibility of your dreams, because pumpkin seeds represent dreams, or they are connected to dreams. So your dreams can grow into these abundant rewards that reaps a bountiful harvest that can help you to sustain life, right? Pumpkins also represent protection and warding, right? So that's the whole thing around the jack-o'-lanterns, the carved pumpkins that we call jack-o'-lanterns, that's become a part of Halloween, that people have come accustomed to doing, but we don't really know why we're doing. We just know that it's just something that we do at that time of the year, and this is one aspect of spiritual belief or practice, a means of utilizing them. So they can be seen as a symbol of protection against negative energies or spirits, particularly during Halloween, because this is when the veil is pretty much obsolete between worlds. So if the veil is obsolete between worlds, you want to ward off that negative energy. Jack-o'-lanterns are good for that. Now, it's been accustomed in Western tradition and Western propaganda to take things of strong spiritual significance, of our ancestors, and to make it into something else. So then there's that negative thing around the jack-o'-lanterns in terms of for Halloween, because you think about it, you only see, or I'm not gonna say you only, but you mostly see pumpkins during that particular period of time. You know what I'm saying? So it's a reason for why that is. And so you think about the whole Halloween aspect. What's the main theme of Halloween? Horror. You have these horror fits. We've talked about, these horror films being a strong sense of propaganda, strong sense of religious propaganda. So the horror films really do that. It's just like you seen Pumpkinhead. Now that's what Pumpkinhead is. Pumpkinhead is just a representation of a thought form manifest from negative, or from negative trauma, from strong psychic energy, from negative trauma, because trauma can activate psychic energy. So it brought forth that thought form, or manifest that form into Pumpkinhead, but it was really out of a sense of protection, but it was just through trauma, which is what brought on that whole horror aspect. But again, it serves for the religious propaganda, right? So they go back to that same dogmatic, institutionalized thinking. Now, what else about pumpkins? Because pumpkins, we don't really talk about pumpkins like that, but they do have a strong symbolic reference. They help bring out our creativity. That's why you carve up pumpkins and you decorate pumpkins and do all that in school. It brings out the creativity. Think about it. What color is a pumpkin? It's orange. It's like the orange chakra. So the transformation, right? You think about the orange chakra, you think about transformation, you think about water. Scorpio season. Scorpio is the fixed sign in the fall. So the Scorpio that has the astro-theological connection in terms of the fall equinox. When you're talking about the Scorpio and Judas, the connection to Judas. So in the connection to Judas, that's why Judas gave Jesus a kiss, because the kiss is symbolic to the Scorpio's bite, which looks like a kiss. So it's a story about the Son of God. SUNSON, however your preference. But from my study, it's best you understand how one was just built upon the other. So the story of Jesus Christ is a representation of that Christ energy. That's what it is. So the pumpkins have a transformative quality or symbolic representation because they grow from a little tiny old little seed into this big old vibrant large fruit, and it's nice big and round. So that's a transformation for or a metaphor for personal growth, for change, for the potential for spiritual evolution, for evolving your energy into something greater. Now, if you remember in the fairy tale Cinderella, she turned the pumpkin into a carriage. The fairy godmother turned the pumpkin into Cinderella's carriage. So the pumpkin became the vehicle to which Cinderella's dreams were able to come true. And it's all about the energy. And pumpkins also have that connectedness to nature. So they're strongly connected to nature. They're a product of the earth and the changing seasons. So they symbolize a connection to the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, which is explored in pretty much every spiritual practice. Just like also the leaves and the changing of the leaves, the falling of the leaves. So this is why pumpkins are used during this time of the year for spiritual rituals and offerings, and are a part of our traditions like Halloween, and even in like Thanksgiving. Some people make pumpkin pie. Not really a fan of pumpkin pie, you know but and then you get the pumpkin spice smells and fragrances out. All of this is a means to you know bring about that energy, because that's the energy that is present. But in a capitalistic world, all they're just gonna do is sell you these things. Just kind of put you in a state of consuming something. But it's more to it than that. It's more to it than that. And speaking in all that, in terms of the pumpkin, that's what the fall equinox is also symbolizing as well. It's heavy things of transformation. That's why you see the pumpkins out now. Because there's this association of the fall equinox with transformation and inner reflection. This is a prominent time to reflect. This is why you give thanks. You reflect on the things that you have been through, made it through, things of whatnot, all of your obstacles and what you made it through, to be present, and you give thanks. It's a time to share old habits. You reflect like, man, if I wasn't so caught up in this right here, I could have had this right here. This is when this type of thing starts to come up, because this is a good time for you to want to let go, shed them habits. You want to get rid of them habits. You want to release what no longer serves you. And you want to prepare for the introspective season of winter, because winter is hibernation. That's why they teach you about hibernation so much, about that in connected to the winter. Because, so to speak, it's a hibernation spiritual period. You kind of get more, introspective, because hey, it's cold out. Ain't a lot of stuff ain't going on out. It's more about staying warm indoors, staying inside more. So it's an introspective season. So here's something that you can do. What you can do right now is you can get to a quiet space. Just give yourself 30 to 40 minutes and get in a quiet space, or just spend some time by yourself and just really reflect and think about what it is that you want to release and what it is that you want to invite more of into your life. And you get a pen and a pad and you write it down. You use your hand writing to write it down. Don't put in your phone. Write it down. And you write it down, and then you bury your intentions in the earth. And as you do so, as you bury, you visualize supportive energy, just support pouring in for you to obtain those goals. Use the power of visualization as you bury your intentions from that piece of paper. Now that's something that you can just, you know, something I just thought I'd throw out there that you can utilize during this time right now. Because what you are doing is you are altering things of your mind state, of your mindset, which is allowing you or providing you the opportunity to bring forth a different harvest. So if you want to change what you harvesting, what you are sustaining your life on, now is a good time to reflect on it. Now is a good time. Now, as far as mythology goes, or mythological and symbolic elements, there's strong mythological and symbolic elements with the fall equinox, and it's also astrological significance or symbolic reference, which I kind of spoke on already. So, the equinox is linked to the myths and symbols related to the dying god, because this is when the sun, the hours or the time of light and warmth is decreasing and fading away, and it's becoming more dark and cold. So it's the representation of the sun going away, right? So these narratives vary amongst different occult and esoteric traditions, but that's the astrotheology aspect of it when we're looking at the sun, sun. So the sun or the days get shorter and shorter. The nights become longer and longer, right? Until you get to the point where the sun is at its lowest point that it can go, and it sits there for 3 days. It's kind of symbolic of that other story we was talking about, right? So it's the lowest at its lowest point for 3 days, which is the winter solstice. Now, once that winter solstice, now the sun begins to rise back up. And once it crosses back over that celestial equator, that's when it's the spring equinox. And now the nights are no longer than the days. So when it comes to everything pertaining to that dark time, that dark period, you got to be up on game. See, remember, Jesus went into, the forest. He did the 40 days, the 40 nights. He did the whole bit with the devil before that, before he went into, to be crucified. Before he went to all that, he had to go do that first. So you got to get yourself balanced. You have to conquer your lower self. That's why balance is important. Because if you are not balanced, a lot of things are going to hit you during the season, or it will be made possibly more difficult for you. And that's not to say that situations and circumstances are better, but your perspective of those things will be. And in a sense, because your perspective is going to be better, it is going to be better for you to deal with, because the mind is all at the end of the day. So that's why, you get up to the spring equinox, and that's when you celebrate Easter. That's when you have the celebration of Christ has risen. Because we are talking about the celestial sun. So, it has that astrological connection to it as well. Which is why, Jesus, we're looking at winter soul. We're looking at the sun going through the zodiac. That's a myth in itself. The sun going through the zodiac. Now, the elemental association or the elemental aspect is the connection to earth. That's why you can have pumpkin offerings, right? Because pumpkin is symbolic to the earth. Because even some people would say how the pumpkin was symbolic or reference to the whole of the world, because it was a big bountiful round fruit, right? So In some traditions, like I said, it has a strong earth connection, energies of stability, grounding, growth. So some practitioners may incorporate earth-based rituals and symbolism more so during this particular time. So harvest time being an important time, you're looking at farmers, agriculture, you're dealing with a strong earth element, knowing, understanding the earth, because they got to be in tune with the earth, right? They have to understand what's going on with the earth because their survival depends on it. In now all of our survival depends on it, but their survival depends on it in an everyday fashion. So it's different for them when it abides to their everyday duties, right? And see, our ancestors were more attuned or more accustomed to going with the way things went in nature. So more people were farmers, or knowing about farming, or when things came into harvest was a lot more important in the older times. See, today you got grocery stores, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have a feast anytime you want to, really. So, in all honesty, that's what holidays really are anyway, or when certain periods in time are anyway. It's just a heightened moment of focus, of concentration on specific imagery or ideas that can actually be done at any given point in time. Any given point in time, you can acknowledge the harvest any day, just like you can give thanks any day. Hey, you can honor your mother any day. You feel me? You can celebrate your life any day. So it's perspective. So it's about understanding holidays being connected to the season, because we are micro reflection of the macro. Yes, these things have a capitalistic means to them, but don't leave out the spiritual means, because it can't be, no capitalism can be built on something that ain't spiritual first. That's the kicker. Everything that make money is built off something spiritual. Everything. It's just the reality of what it is. Because that is the only thing really that is real anyway, man. Because we make the money, man. We give things value. So you gotta be careful with your energy, because you already in a season of cold. It's already cold out. It's already dark. The freaks come out at night. It's like 30 days a night. Think about it. It's like monsters outside. You wouldn't just do anything. You gonna make sure that you able to survive and make it through. So you have to do and understand what's going on so you can make it out here. But that's why they prey on the public for stuff like Black Friday. And they, get people all stressed and depressed and consuming and get people invested in all these things that we just caught up in, that we shouldn't really be caught up in, not so heavily. There's nothing wrong with having physical things, man, but hey, sometimes, man, this thing go way left. We seen a lot of the and it has calmed down a lot because they're doing a lot of this more now online. But people would literally be giving thanks or be going to dinner for Thanksgiving, and the next day might be trampling over somebody to get a TV that's on sale for Black Friday. It says a lot, man. It says a lot. It says a lot. So we gotta get back to understanding the root of these energies so we can take the power back. Now lastly, I won't say lastly, a couple more things. Meditation and inner work. I said this before, but let me say it again. Meditation and inner work. The fall equinox is the time for inner work, for self-assessment, meditation to attune oneself to the changing energies of the earth and the cosmos, because things are changing right now. So you want to be in tune with it changing. You're not still wearing those summer clothes in the fall. You got to put your shorts up. You can't wear shorts no more. It's about time for you to bring boots out. You change clothes, right? You gotta adapt. So in that same sense, you want to make sure that you are attuning yourself to the energies of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Get out, commune in nature. Go out and take some nature walks. You know what I'm saying? Get more in tune with nature. Feel the change of the air. You can feel the change. You can feel fall in the air. Well, sometimes you can, depending on where you are. I'm not gonna say that's true for everybody. You know, but you want to be able to spend time outdoors so you can feel the shift in the natural world, in the natural way of things. You know, just feel the shift in things now. Um, these are just some things that I wanted to share pertaining to the fall equinox and to kind of get out there. And I will um, put out another video where I want to get a little bit more into things we can do with some pumpkins and other things that we can do this particular time of year associated with psychic protection and things like that. So if you're not on the Patreon, I want you to get on the Patreon. Get on the Patreon. You can get up there for $3.33 for $7.77. Now if you get the $7.77, you will get videos, and there's also like a book library. Now the highest tier is the $33.33. Now what comes with that, not only do you get access to every video, every piece of content in any class content that I put out, you also get a free mini consultation every month. It comes with that, with the $33.33 package. Okay, so that's real important to know. If you just basic, you just getting your foot wet, you just want to see how it is, get started, get the little $3.33. You know, and I always appreciate the support, because it's gonna take a lot for me to really build this thing out and to do some of the things that I want to do, to share a lot of things that, you know, can help a lot of people deal on this spiritual path. You know what I'm saying? And help to connect a lot of people, because that's what helped me a lot on this path, was some of the people that I was able to connect with. So, you know, some of the things I want to bring to the table, hey, let's keep it all the way real. It's going to require some resources. So, you know, I appreciate any and all support. Also, the third book is on the way. I'm not going to talk about it too much until I'm a little further along, but I will keep y'all updated. I will keep y'all updated for sure. So, in the meantime, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube, get subscribed to the YouTube so you can get access to all the free content, right? Now, and if you're ready to take it further, get on the Patreon. Get on the Patreon. It's just the best. It's the best means of communication I have with people. You know, it's the best way for me to get all my content out there in a space that's just suited for what I'm doing. So, you know, I'm gonna go ahead on and wrap this video up. You know, y'all have a happy fall equinox and take advantage of the energy that's out there. And don't worry, you have ample opportunity to utilize energy at any and all times. So whenever you learn or pick up this information, it is still and always gonna be useful. So with that, I'm out, everybody. And remember, y'all, stay dangerous. Peace.